And as it is, the president appeared before members of parliament, or let's say the body itself, parliament, as part of the constitutional requirement to present before members the state of the nation. And in that very address, we've had a number of reactions, many of them being mixed and very much vibrant on social media as to what the president said, what he promised, and whether he can deliver, so to speak. But in the main media space or public discourse, the discussions have been centered on the announcement about efforts to improve the current energy situation, but particularly also how the other sectors would be developed as far as the current financial year is concerned. And already we know that within the period, the announcement came that government had concluded negotiations with the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. Now, with the staff that had come into the country to negotiate with the Finance Ministry and the rest of the government team, they have finally approved the IMF deal, and we're told that in excess of some $900 million has been allocated to the country for the next 3 years. But of course, this would need to have a final approval before the board of the IMF in Washington. But what it means is that the approval has been made. Well, we need to take a critical look at these subjects that have perhaps cropped up the last 24 hours. And I have with me a member of Parliament's Committee on Energy and also member of Parliament for Damango. Adam Mutawakilu is my guest for the morning. Thanks for joining me, sir.
Thank you.
All right. What's your own description about the president's speech and all that he said following that?
Thank you very much. Good morning to our cherished viewers. I think yesterday's speech by the president addressing the nation was one of the best in the history of the Fourth Republic.
Really?
Yes.
That's aptly the way you would describe it.
Yes. Because I didn't just look at what he's telling us he will do, but I also look at what he told us February last year. And he's been able to, and I'm able to evaluate what has been done. And that was very, very important.
According to the critics, it's more as if it's a rehash of the finance minister's budget.
It's not a rehash. Yeah.
The president talking about how many? 6 million of something, 50 million of excise books, a number of things that will be done.
There are a lot
houses, polyclinics, etc.
The budget actually do not go into details, into nitty-gritty much when we are approving the whole budget. But he has come out with information, some of them approving the budget, because at the end of the day, the expenditure must come. But highlighted more and brought in more ingredients to it. For example, that's why I said last year you could evaluate. Last year he indicated it was more on the structure of the economy, whereby we could change it from import base to export base and change the structure such that at the end of the day we'll be able to, our balance of payment will be favorable, and therefore will not mount pressure on the currency. And yesterday he analyzed it, and I was very happy. For example, last year he said about 1.5 billion import bill, and therefore there is the need to reduce it. And he gave out what caused it: poultry products, sugar, rice, tomatoes, and all those things. And that there is the need for us to reduce it, and he was going to do everything possible to ensure that the import bill on this reduced, and finally it will be local production will take over. Yesterday he made it clear, rice locally has increased by 60% in terms of production, and import bill dropped from $467.7 million to $275.1 million within a year. Is a huge gap. So that means with the support given to the local production, putting measures in place, in the near future, this thing will drop, and finally to be below.
Fantastic.
Below
but the critics out there are saying, despite all the drop and the increment of some 60% in production, as far as rice is concerned, the investment that has been made in the sector is not commensurate to the drop as far as the importation is concerned, in terms of quantum or whether it's monetary worth, etc. And so we need to go beyond the commitment of just making sure we reduce the importations, but also do real investments in the sector.
Yeah, that, from what he indicated, you could realize that there is investment going on in the local production of rice, and that is why it has increased by 60. After investment, it moves from state to state. It doesn't just bump up. As you invest, you face difficulties, and then you try to identify the difficulties and increase the investment. If I just go today and invest $1 billion in production of rice without actually passing through the right stages with the right investment, and it doesn't work, then you have a problem. So he will continue to scale up the investment in agric as the import reduces. It's an encouragement, and he has achieved it. So I'm sure that whatever method he has taken to ensure that import of rice reduce is working, and therefore I know more investment will go to agric, and very soon it will be a thing of the past. In the sugar, last year he indicated that he will be setting up factories, 2 factories, to ensure that we produce sugar locally to take care of the beverage, ice cream, general consumption by Ghanaians. And yesterday he made it clear that currently there is construction of a sugar factory at Komenda. And soon, another, in the course of the year, another one will start from the north. And we expect that when this is done, import bill on sugar will reduce by 40%.
Well, he's been saying that all along before the State of the Nation address.
Production, he's taking steps.
He even went to cut the sword for the Komenda factory.
And it is
so
ongoing.
What's the point in trying to
he's trying to reiterate that whatever he said, that you change the structure of the economy.
Is that not a rehash of old statements?
It's a reinforcement. He wants Ghanaians to know. You see, information once not conveyed, after a while we tend to forget. He said it. It is very important. As at February last year, nothing has started. This year, something is going on. He needs to let Ghanaians know that whatever effort he's putting in will definitely yield results. In the poultry industry, last year he made sure it will reduce, and he launched the 20 million broiler campaign policy so that we raise 20 million broilers.
Is he following through with that?
Yes. And importation of poultry product has dropped. Even importation of day-old chicks has been reduced, if not curtailed.
I've been interacting with some poultry farmers, but they still say, despite the commitment that, well, we will, as a country, reduce importation, the investment to the sector is not enough. Still, or i.e., they still can access the various credit facilities that are supposed to be there, if it's EDIF or now EDIF, if it's the various venture capital funds that we have around. So it makes it very difficult to concretely do a measurement of what the commitment is and what sort of investment is being made.
The government is working to ensure that we reduce it.
More rhetoric.
Yeah, no. Why did it reduce? Did we have poultry shortage? That is the first thing you must assess. We have reduced imports, but I've not seen people complaining that there are no broilers. I've not seen people complain that there are no eggs. That means something is being done. And difficulties will continue to go through difficulty. There is no day any farmer will say, now I'm freed, I have no challenges. And the government has programmed 200 to support 200 poultry farmers. And the government will execute it. So we are making strides, and we must admit it. For the first time, the poultry product has declined by almost $50 million import bills. It's a very good sign. At the same time, we have not run short of poultry products, and therefore the prices have skyrocketed. No. So you realize that irrespective of the challenges, I call them challenges, and challenges, you must come up with it, and they will be solved. If you don't come up with it, solutions will not be found for them. And therefore, it is a very good. In last year's State of the Nation address, the president promised to ensure that EDIF or ADF become domestic friendly. And he indicated it. $51 million Ghana cedis has been given to the pharmaceutical companies so that we can produce the drugs locally. That is a huge step. And when people say that's rhetoric, I look at them. Practical steps are being taken to solve most of the challenges we faced some time ago. But people still, for whatever they think that nothing is happening. There is something seriously happening. And I believe that in the next few years, we'll come to acknowledge and appreciate the effort that the president is putting in.
While we continue our discussions on the subject, make sure that you log on to our Facebook page, Join News on TV, and please very much give us your thoughts on the president's delivery before Parliament in the State of the Nation address. But that's what we've been doing. We've been going around town trying to speak to Ghanaians on their reaction towards the State of the Nation address by the president. Just take a look.
You don't have electricity. I mean, how are you going to work? I mean, and things will move up. I've asked it so many times and I can't even understand it. I mean, they should help us. If there's a secret that, I mean, it's not known, it should be made available, or, I mean, it should be explained to all of us.
The lot-off is too much. Fridge, free. This thing, iron, free. The main light, free. Why free? So if you know you're not going to chop the president, make him stand up. That person should come. You get me? If you serious thing where they talk, come here. We they use electric this thing to make rabbit. Now the lot-off, we can't use that thing to rabbit again. So where we go get money to go our hometown?
We have a lot out this morning, and we don't have generator to watch it. That's why we are not watching. So we don't know what he's saying. Yeah.
Now, what are two key things you would like President Mahama to touch on in the State of the Nation address?
Okay, we want him to tackle the whole nation's crisis. This is about the light crisis we are having now. In fact, it's affecting us very well. That's one. And the economy too is hurting us too much. So we want him to do something about it for us.
I get TV here, but no light. Okay. How can I watch the TV? Okay. I want to listen to what is going on in the world, but I don't get light because of I have TV, everything, but no light.
First, I want him to help us for the light to stop. The doomso is too much.
And as you can see, the concern of many Ghanaians is the subject of energy. Now, let me just run this by. According to the Center for Energy Policy, ASEP, this is their conclusion about the president's speech on energy, or the section of the president's speech on energy. Or what they said was that the president's speech basically was just a rehash of what the policy has been on energy in terms of what the crisis, the promises have been. And according to the center, well, they are unimpressed and they think that the president should have done better. For example, the president is promising to add additional 3,665 megawatts by 2016. The 450 megawatt power barges from Turkey and 220 from Dubai were announced by government as emergency reliefs. But ASEP puts the addition of a combined 670 megawatts to the national grid as realistic only by August, not April, as government has been insisting. And ASEP also said although the power barge is expected to be located at Tema, the berthing place of the power ships have not been prepared 2 months to government's promised deadline of April. You are a member of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Energy. With all these and the defense you've been doing across the media, left, right, center, what should be the realistic timeline for us to say at least we're going to have an improvement, 30% improvement on the current crisis that Ghanaians are facing?
Thank you. First of all, let me make sure. I was in Parliament. I never heard where the president said 3,665 megawatts will be added by the end of 2016. No, I heard him outline the short, medium to long term. So I don't know. I've read it as well. I have not seen whereby he emphatically stated by 2016 this.
If you do addition of all that he said.
Yes.
If you do addition of all that he said by 2016, then when you add these, you get to meet the targets that
it will be more. I'll do more of the analysis as we can.
Well, that's what
because the short term, we all go through doomso.
You're going through as well?
Yes.
As a member of parliament?
In fact,
how's that possible? But let's continue the discussion.
Yeah, in fact, yesterday I have to take my phone to the parliament to charge. So I go through it, the president goes through it. The Flagstaff House also experienced dumso very clearly, most often. The president feels it, and he understands the frustration of Ghanaians. And as he indicated, he outlined some of the occurrences of dumso in 1983, in 2006, 1998, 2006, 2007, and the cause. And some of the causes are increase in population is one, change in architectural design of our buildings, which now take more energy than before. 3, increase in rural electrification. As we speak about rural electrification is about 76%, and the second in Sub-Saharan Africa, apart from South Africa, and South Africa is also going through their energy crisis as we speak. They're going through energy crisis.
But it's not only South Africa. I know a friend also lives in Malawi.
Yeah, they are also going through the energy crisis. And the president outlined both the short, the medium to long term, and the restructuring of the power sector. He indicated clearly.
The president has been telling us this for the last 2 years.
And he's working around the clock.
Why should we believe him? He never gets to meet the target, does he?
Some time ago, he made promises, and it didn't work, to be very frank. But, you know, the power sector is something that you cannot predict, because as of 2012, nobody predicted that Akosombo Kong will be producing below 60%. So definitely it has. But where you're making efforts to create beyond the demand and make sure that we have enough reserve margin, we have redundant plans, say that at any point in time we can have lights. And therefore there is the need for a shift from hydro as our load base to thermal. He indicated it clearly. If Akosombo had been full by now, I don't think we'll have dumso, because it would have been generating at least at 90
but we should know that even though it's a dam, one day it may dry up somewhat.
Predictability becomes a problem. That is why he indicated clearly that there is the need to shift using hydro as a load base to thermal generation. He indicated it clearly. And that is where he triggered in the restructuring. But before I get there, he indicated that the short-term measures he's putting in place, which will happen in months, is the coming in of car power.
The power badges?
The power badges, the first one. Negotiation is going on. The platforms from the Minister of Energy, the Parliamentary Select Committee of Mines and Energy, the Minister of Power indicated clearly that preparatory work,
the one doing the work now,
preparatory work are ongoing at Tema, said that when the first batch comes, it's connected straight to the national grid. So they are not waiting while the paperwork is being done. Preparatory works are ongoing. So that means that the moment the paperwork is done, the badges come within a matter of weeks. We should be able to connect it to the national grid. So while there is a little delay in terms of paperwork, there is actual work going on the ground for it to take in when the power comes. 2, APR from United Arab Emirates.
They are bringing 220?
250 megawatts 250. To add. And the General Electric, will be coming with...
But we were told that the Dubai MPR, you call it? Or
APR.
APR. They are bringing 220.
250.
250.
Yeah, 250 megawatts.
I thought I had 220.
It's 250.
Yes, please.
General Electric will be coming up with 300 megawatts.
That's different from the 1,000 megawatts we
different. Signed. This one is emergency power.
It's an emergency plan.
Yes. Okay. So in all, the emergency power that we'll be getting will be about 1,000 megawatts.
Really?
Yes, and it is also good to indicate that
When are we going to get all these? When are all these going to come on stream? By which deadline?
within months. I cannot give a deadline because
But that's
there
what
are
you do.
technicalities.
You don't
see,
give definite deadlines.
When you
and
are
so
dealing with
consumers
paperwork,
are always in a limbo.
when you are dealing with paperwork, you are not dealing it alone. You are doing it with another partner. What you think it is the final, you send it there, and you have to also do A or B or C. Until the paperwork is done and timelines are given, it is very difficult to come. As they are working on the guarantee, or what we call the letter of comfort. When that one is signed, an agreement is reached, and then we say within a month or two, we want the badges to be in Ghana. And then we can come out and give you definite. But the president indicated clearly what is going on. So we expect in the next few months, about 1,000 megawatts will be added to the national grid. He also spoke about the medium to long term. And the medium to long term is not limited to 2016. And he gave out the plans that are going. Sonon Asuglo Phase 2 will be coming up with 360 megawatts. Sonon Asuglo coal-fired will be coming out with 750.
Ghana coal.
Coal, yes.
We'll be importing the coal and
from South Africa.
Okay. We don't understand your point. No, we have Member of Parliament for Nsawama Dredji on the line, and Frank Anodompre is joining us. Thank you very much for joining us. First, what were your impressions about the president's speech?
Well, Roland, good morning,
morning
to your
sir.
viewers and your listeners. First of all, I think that we all need to know that it was a constitutional requirement of which the president fulfilled. And so, seriously, it wasn't anything exceptional. I think there the way our democracy has evolved, it has become a regular feature. So there wasn't nothing exceptional about the presentation yesterday. That aside, the president, as you all know, is a communicator. So he was at his best. He did the communication very well. He was eloquent. And he spoke well. But the fact of the matter is that the motive for the exercise was the state of the nation. We need to get that very clear. Fundamentally, we must get that clear. It was the state of the nation. Seriously, at a point, I felt the president was speaking into the future. He was laying emphasis and elucidation on things he intends doing in the future, which I thought, takes a lot away from the address. That aside, the address was lacking when it comes to the real state of the nation. For instance, I can speak off-head, contractors that are not paid, statutory payment that remains unpaid, and all these. So if I'm to give him a mark in terms of he sticking to the motive for the presentation by presenting the current state of the nation, Ghana, I think I'll rank the president 30%. But that aside, I think he flowed, he was eloquent. But beyond the eloquence, I think that in real substance, in terms of sticking to the motive by telling us what is the state of our nation, the crisis we are facing, he tried to, in a subtle way, dodge that and rather launch into what he intends doing in the future, which I think wasn't the best. Besides the point, we've heard in many, many occasions, you can go and look at the 2014 State of the Nation address. A lot of the things that he said he was going to do, many of them were repeated this year. And therefore, one takes it with a pinch of salt. I personally take most of the things he said in terms of the promises he made with a huge pinch of salt, because many occasions his ministers, he himself has given certain timelines and they have turned out to be a fiasco. So unless we can only hope and see what happens in the months in the months ahead of us. But judging on the content of what he presented, I wasn't impressed.
Now, as you've joined us for this whole discussion, we also have in the studio Adam Mutawakilu. He's a member of parliament for Damango. I believe you know him very well. He's also a member of the Select Committee on Energy. But if I get all the things you said right, you seem to have comported yourself yesterday and not going about the rhetorics and reacting negatively, so to speak, to the speech of the president as you would have done previously. What's the rationale for all that?
Well, there wasn't any rationale. It was a feeling that we had to purgate on the spur of the moment. And what I'm saying is that we are so disappointed. We have been in a mourning state for a very long time, and it's not just peculiar to the NPP MPs. If you talk to 10 Ghanaians, I can tell you on confidence that about 8 of them will tell you they are disappointed, especially when it comes to the power crisis. We are so disappointed. So we were lost of words as a result of the disappointment, and therefore we just felt that, well, let him come and do his presentation. Let's just look at him, say what he wants to say, and then afterwards we will also present the true state of the nation. So it wasn't something that we planned, but it came on the spur of the moment. And so when you get very disappointed, sometimes that is how you behave.
Okay.
We were so disappointed.
Before you came online, your colleague was speaking to the subject of energy, and I should say I was a bit impressed about the promise to perhaps bring emergency plan from Turkey. We're told it's Kamapa, and then also some 250 from Dubai, the Emirates, etc. And also some extra 300 in excess megawatts from General Electric or emergency power plants. At least it will see an ease to the current difficulties we're facing with energy, don't you think?
Roland, you see, so there are some things that we can't do politics with, that especially has to do with our health, our security, and our energy. I will not do politics with our energy crisis. On the surface of it is wonderful. On the surface of the presentation, the number of megawatts that we stand to gain based on the surface of the presentation. I doff my cap to the president, but I'm telling you that there is a certain history where consistently and repeatedly certain promises have been given and we've seen little of it. So I am a bit cautious, and that's why I said I take with a pinch of salt. If emphasis mine, if the president indeed can deliver all that he said to deliver, if he can make do with all these deliverables, then of course all of us will be happy. But I'm saying that the multi-million question is that, will he do it? Can he do it? Will he be able to do it?
Well, somebody,
these are the critical questions we need to ask.
Well, Frank, somebody say you're putting the cart before the horse. You're just being cynical for nothing, or you're just being skeptical for nothing. You just have to wait for it to be done, or not done. Then you make your conclusions, Frank.
No, Roland, I am not, seriously, with much greatest respect, I am not being cynical. I'm not just being a pessimist, but I'm telling you that if indeed I am being a pessimist, I am not being cynical.
Okay.
If I'm being a pessimist, there is a cost to that pessimism, because something has given rise to that pessimism. You have in a country where the president, the number one person in our land, tells us that on this day and time, the energy crisis will stop. I mean, the president didn't just get out of the blue and said that. He said that as a result of a broad and wider consultation he's done. I'm telling you this. Now, if that turns out to be a fiasco, and following that, the doomso has increased, I am justified to be a pessimist.
Okay, thank you. Please be on the line, and we're happy. You're going to join us for the next 50 minutes, so be ready for it. Be holding your phone.
Thank you very much.
But for the president promising, and for his own words and actions not perhaps relating to it, because he promises and he's failed, I guess his critics will be justified to say, well, even these cannot be fulfilled.
Thank you very much. But before I start with that, I think my colleague said it's not State of the Nation's address, because you should tell us A, B, C, D. I think we've listened to State of the Nation's address several occasions, several times, more than 10 times.
And they follow the same pattern?
The question is it following the same pattern? That is one. I don't believe, even as a student, when they say list the factors of this, you just go and then you list, then you go and sit down.
You need to give
there
a
might
preamble.
be some flesh added to it. And in politics, nothing is more than saying what is now and telling the people about the future. It's very, very important, whether you agree or not.
Energy.
That is it. When it comes to energy, you see, the president made a promise based on some information. And he came out and admitted, I'm okay. But making one and it didn't come to fulfill.
Not one. The president made one, two.
No, it's a great experience.
I think even the third one.
No.
Which formally has been denied to be coming from his government communicators.
And that one was an experience. And I said he has never made definite dates. Even these power badges, he said in months. He didn't provide a definite date. 2, my colleague made mention of, there are so many things he has not done. I've mentioned so many things he has done. But if he wants me to add more, in the water sector, the president promised last year's State of the Nation's address some important projects that will be completed. And one was Pong Water Expansion Project. And it was done. He commissioned it.
So your point is?
2,
he says it and it's done?
You see, when you say he says almost things, there are many things, many more things that he has achieved. More than 80% of them.
Okay, let me ask you, the power badges, when are they coming in?
As I told you, the paperwork is being done. The moment.
So that's the difficulty that your critics have. You tend to dilate around the issue, but not really pinpointing when and what.
It is very, very important to indicate that when you are dealing with 2 people, one you don't have complete control over. You don't set definite times. And the initial agreement, that was a letter of comfort or probably guarantee. Let me just do it. He, the officer, the honorable member, was the first person who came on rooftop that he was taking it to court because it's a guarantee and it must come to Parliament. Whether it is a guarantee or letter of comfort, then we come to see. It came to a point whereby JMPC was supposed to provide some assurance. I think they were the minority who came out that if they do that, they will take it to court. I think they are much aware that something is being done to fix. Even though, irrespective of the heckle that they put across, I know the president will overcome. Let me now go to the medium term. The medium term, medium to long term, the president outlined some projects that total to 3,665 megawatts. And I was giving them out. It's good that I go through them. One was Sogli phase 2, that will add about 360 megawatt. The same Sonona Sogli, the coal-fired.
Well, people say it's nothing new.
It is good that people know that in the future, good things and this power crisis, as the president promised, he is not going to manage it, but fix it, will come to reality.
Okay. Now, Frank, aside that, we have education and laudable promises in there. We're going to have 50 million books, exercise books printed. 50 million exercise books printed in Ghana. Now, 6 million textbooks will be distributed. And the idea is to make sure all of them are also printed in Ghana. I mean, if this one is not laudable, what else do you need? Even adding that 10,000 sandals will be distributed free of any charge to school children countrywide.
Well, Roland, my response is a very terse response. I think that I have a way of handling our brothers in the NDC, not engaging them in plenty of words, but just going straight to the point. First of all, if you recall, the last State of the Nation address, the president had come to say that he was going to support local industry. To that end, he had even used his pair of shoes, to dramatize, if you recall vividly.
Sure.
Now, go and check the budget statement. Industry, after the president has said all that, industry in this country had grew by -8%. And here I'm being very specific. So, if after all that you've done, all that you claim to have done, and your industry sector, which is a very critical section of our economy, is growing at a rate of negative 8%. And suddenly you come and tell me they are going to provide school textbooks and standards, and they are going to be locally produced. We only live to see. I am only biding my time and praying that indeed the president will be able to deliver on these deliverables. You see, it is not just promises. The promises should come with substance. Your promises should be based on certain basis. For me, the president is very good at promising. And I'm telling you that we are not convinced with the promises. Because when you are promising, there should be signs on the ground to show that these promises will come to fruition. To that end, I am not convinced that these promises will come to fruition unless they prove me wrong. Unless they prove me wrong.
Someone will say it's in your stead and well within your right to be very much skeptical and very pessimistic about whether the president's promise will come to fruition or not.
Well, it's not just about within our right. Okay, it's about what has happened before, and the attitude, a certain trending. The key word is a certain trending that is emerging in His Excellency's administration. That is what is informing this decision. And anybody who will be a pessimist or who will show pessimism based on all the things that we've been told by the president, the person will be wholly justified based on what we've been told before and happenings presently. So putting all these in context, one can only say that we only hope to see what they will do.
Okay.
But more to the point, on the energy crisis, I am just amazed by what is on paper. But really, I ask my brother, in the short term, businesses are collapsing. If you come to Insao, my area, companies that employ people are being laid off. So you were put into the helm of affairs to do things to turn lives around and to turn the welfare of Ghanaians around. In the interim, we've heard about all the agreements that are yet to fulfill. All these agreements, on the average, going to take about a year to 2 years. In the interim, why can't this government make money available to buy crude oil to power the machines that we have?
That's your worry?
In fact, it's not just personal. It's a worry that cuts across. So enough of the talking.
Okay.
Let them walk their talk.
All right.
And then Ghanaians can have confidence in them.
I'm very much interested in the point, Mr. Okay, once we have installed capacity, it means that we should be able to produce.
What happened?
Even without gas, so to speak, or enough gas supply.
That is why my brother stated clearly about he's being pessimistic about what is going on. Installed capacity, as we speak, I said, most of the power generated is from hydro. That is one. And currently, because of the drought, they are operating around 50%. That means a chunk of it is gone. As he speaks, I thought he would have mentioned one plant that is idling. The only one I know is because of the problem with the FPSO that has stopped the flow of gas abruptly. But that could be fixed immediately. Getting fuel there is another thing. I know they are working on it. But you see, when you come to provision of 10,000 locally made sandals, it is good to know that the president admitted how the energy crisis is affecting the industry, it's affecting the barbers, it's affecting hairdressers, it is affecting dressmakers, and therefore there is the need for him to fix it forever and ever. And so it shouldn't be surprising the industry is not performing very well, because the president has indicated it clear, and he will fix it, and the industrial sector will pick up much more than it used to pick up. Two, the production, it gives employment. The president didn't only talk of sandals. 600 million textbooks will be provided. 500,000 school uniforms.
6 million.
6 million textbooks will be provided. Thank you.
And then 50 million
exercise books. 500,000 school uniforms. 30,000 computers. That is enriching the quality of education. In our manifesto, we talk of quality. Two, he didn't only talk of that. He talked about how in-service training has been given to about 150 160,000 teachers.
And you think that is
and that
enough?
forms about 56% of the teaching population in maths and science. And in that case, he's gearing towards science, a science nation, Ghana being a science nation. All add to the quality we're talking about. Making provision for students who have problems to resit. And last week, about 1,181 of the
junior high
students,
schools?
junior high school, BC,
Those who suffer junior high school examinations
had
and
the
fail.
opportunity to resit, to better
and then
their
him
grades.
even using a convict or somebody who
46 years convict in WA, who had the opportunity.
Definitely,
to
the president has a way of reaching out to the people and trying to make them empathize with it.
Yeah,
right.
That means that but
the responsibility is to make sure that his promises really come to fruition.
Inshallah, I know they will come to fruition. When you come to the tertiary aspect, he tackled so many issues. The free access. We spoke much about access, making education accessible. And in our manifesto, we promised 2,000. We outline what has been achieved, what is going on so far. 73 of the schools are ongoing, 50 more to join. And under the well-bound package of $156 million, about 125 of these schools will. And his promise to make each region have a university. He has outlined an interim report to make sure that Navrongo campus and one campus become autonomous and able to be submitted to Parliament to approve for the construction of a university in the Eastern region. As well as talk about structures in the new university that has come up, how the government is making sure that they have the foundation, that is the structures, to be able to do well.
Mr. Another, you should say that these promises are impressive, but how do we just oppose that to the fact that even contractors who are constructing in school buildings are still old, perhaps several months and even over a year or two and not paid?
Roland, it's unfortunate I'm not in your studio. Your brother is having a field day. My colleague is having a field day.
You are having a field day only on phone, but it doesn't matter. Image is not everything.
Well, just a point, just a quick point, and then probably we can draw the curtain. First of all, amidst all these promises, let me just ask him one question. Even situations where law demands statutory payment, where the government is impelled by law to fulfill common fund and all the statutory payment, government has checked these responsibilities. Contractors, as you rightly mentioned, come to my constituency. In Sawom, Apeja Road, the in Sawom Ebri Road, contractors working on these roads are telling us, and they've been quite definite, the payments have not been coming forth. Okay? You know, this government has a way of banding figures. The way they have a funny way of throwing about figures. But I'm telling you, if you subject all these figures into critical analysis, you realize that these are propaganda-induced figures. I'm telling you, for God's sake, that look, where is the 200 schools that they promised they're going to build? They will tell you, we have built one at Wale Wale. You go there and you don't see anything. They will tell you, we are building one on the Isaon Road. You go there and you don't see anything. For once, let this government take Ghanaians serious. And then they should realize that there is more to governance than just being eloquent and packaging your message in a way just to convince the people. At the end of the day, I feel the hardship. At the end of the day, if I cannot, teachers cannot have access to teaching material. It is not for you to come and tell them that in the future you are going to buy them textbooks. I mean, if the present, you are unable to deliver on what you are supposed to deliver, even where you are compared by law, you are not able to do it. How then do I have hope and believe in you promising something to happen in the future? The matter is very simple. All that they are doing, all the president came to do, in my view, was to do promises. Even though he himself has promised he's not going to promise again, he came there to do promises. And if you subject the promises to critical analysis, you realize that some of these things, or most of these things, cannot be achieved.
Okay.
And so that is the point. It's very simple. I hope they will turn around and realize that Ghanaians are fully awake now.
Okay,
and we are not going to be
I need to let you go though. I only have to give him a minute. But let me just ask you this. And so, I hear on Wednesday, your side of the house, the MPP minority side of the house, will be putting together their own State of the Nation address. You have a president among you?
Well, I think that as part of our oversight responsibility as a minority, we are alternative government. And it's just a fundamental responsibility on our part to also state our case. And that notwithstanding, we are in a democracy. When we state our case, you, the media, can compare the trust of what we are saying, and then we can all draw a dichotomy or a differential between the two, and then we'll know who is telling the truth.
All right. Thank you very much. Frank Anodom Prez, a member of parliament for Nsawam Adwejuri, a member of the MPP as well, a very good friend of mine too. And thanks for joining me, Frank.
Thank you very much. First, I want to just...
Unfortunately, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, he has been able to say, we build SHS as a responsible opposition. It is your duty, when we say we're building a year, you come out and tell the public that we lied. He's not been able to mention one that we have indicated that we are constructing.
That you haven't.
He just mentioned figure towns, but that is, he doesn't even know which towns.
He's only giving examples.
Yes, examples. Two, these arrears in 2009 when we took over from power and all those things, that was
they are not true?
No, I'm coming. I'm starting. In 2009, what we took over.
No, you don't have much time, so don't start.
Even National Youth Employment, there was arrears. And
you all contractors, district assemblies.
I'm coming. The late President Mills.
They've only received, is it 2 quarters from last year, etc.
I'm coming. I'm still coming.
National Health Insurance, get fund.
The late President Mills make sure that he put concerted effort to start settling arrears from the previous government. With the introduction of the single spine, distorted that plan, whereby payment on salary shot up to about 73%. And therefore, the balance left to settle other things had difficulties. I'm very certain that with a drop in the wage bill from 73% to 49% as it declines, government will be able to raise enough resources to settle all these debts that
I'm sure you have a lot of time to be defending this, and indeed you've been doing that all morning since you came here, waiting for your turn to appear on the program, on other media platforms as well. And thanks very much, Adam Mutawakilu, Member of Parliament for Damango, but also a Member of Parliament Select Committee on Energy. What position do you have on the Energy Committee?
I'm just a member.
You're a member.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And that'll be it. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up for you.
Okay, so with 1 more minute to 9, you know what it means. It's bye-bye from us here on the AM show. We appreciate the fact that you've been with us from Monday to today.
And so next Monday, we'll be here once again.
Yeah, God willing, not our own will.
Of course.
Yeah. We're following up on the EC's issue in court today, so stay on News Desk at 10. We'll give you the latest updates. Enjoy the rest of the day.
And enjoy the rest of your weekend too. We'll meet you on Monday. Bye.
Hi.
Good morning.